Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we have a fun topic at hand. I'm sure you've seen the title/thumbnail, but before I get into that, let me introduce as to why we're talking about this topic today. Look, I was thinking maybe there's some MCC content that I can talk about. Maybe there's some blockwars content that I can talk about. I probably could. There's some other events to talk about. No, there's not. Nothing's happening right now. How is a Wolfeei supposed to mogul mill in these streets, in this environment? This is impossible. What do you mean? There's nothing. Nothing. No Reddit roundup. We look at the top post of this month. Ender Cup, whatever Joel did, he spent time on the Minecraft practice server. Teams, whatever, teams. It's just like everything has already been talked about. There's nothing from MCC. I'm gonna crash out, man. Oh my god. And then blockwars. I mean, this is kind of the inspiration for this video. I was like, I could talk about Origins, but there's only like 3 teams that I actually know anything about, really. Here's my team. This event is on August 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Come watch. It's like me, Shane, Haley, Desert, and Chaos Corpse. You'll be familiar with most of the people there. And then the reason I was inspired about this video topic is we have Team MCC in blockwars Origins, which has Daniel Iltum, like lead dev of MCC, Michael Clicks, who's also a dev in MCC, and then Grafis or Grafish, who is not a dev, but is a notable member internally within MCC, like MCC's community. But it was mentioned here from Artemis. Well, there's your crossover event, and it reminded me. TwitchCon Europe panel, Mr. Callum CPK was on our panel, and guess what he said? And we're gonna talk about it today. Here's a clip.
But we need more crazy crossovers. In fact, I want full event crossovers. Let's go wild.
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, it probably is, but I don't know about that stuff, so that's for you. That's for you to worry about, Wolfeei. I want crossover.
Yeah, can we please play a blockwars MCC, please?
It's a pretty common question. I don't know if it's even possible. I'm not even.
Oh my god, 16 teams and 2 finales. It worked so well.
All right, here's the pitch. First 4 games are on blockwars, and then we randomly get teleported into the MCC hub. And we're like, what?
That'd be pretty cool.
We can connect them via lore. Yes.
Yes.
That's
we can get over there. Hold on.
Oh my god.
Welcome to the events SMB.
That was pretty funny. A pretty funny segment from our panel. If you didn't see this panel, by the way, this link, I'm not gonna put it in the description. I will forget. Just if you really want to watch this, it is long, but this link, that's the link. I might try to clip this at some point and make it into a mogul mill upload, whatever. Anyways, that got me thinking, what if there was an MCC and blockwars crossover? First, before we get into that, obviously will never happen. The tech is not there for an MCC blockwars crossover. It is just not possible, all right? Not possible. Anyways, we did it anyways. We're gonna look at it. First, we gotta determine the games and even the format, honestly. It'll become clear over time. I'm going to assume that if this were a real event, we would probably just play 8 games and a finale, because that's the main thing the 2 events share, is 8 games and a finale are played during the runtime of the event. You could argue maybe it'd be a 2-day event with a mix of games. Maybe it'd be one really huge event. I don't want streamers to have to sit there for 5 hours or 6 hours frickin' playing Minecraft back to back to back. I've done that a couple times and it's not that fun, even if the games are bangers. So we're just gonna keep it normal. And then I tried to pick, obviously the finale is gonna be Dodgebolt. I didn't even put Tomb Titans and Shockwave on here because I already knew they weren't gonna be picked for the top like list of picks. But I tried picking at least, or well, not at least. I tried picking 4 games from MCC and 4 games from blockwars. Obviously, there's going to be some favorites that are not included in this roster because there's only 8 picks total. Anyways, let's get into it. So I picked Ace Race. I feel like a racing game is kind of a staple for a Minecraft event. It kind of has to be there. You could debate that blockwars races may be as good, better, or slightly worse. Depends on your opinion. I just think Ace Race is the more common public pick, so I picked it. I picked Battle because I was like, there has to be some PvP game. Now, you could change Ace Race and Battle to be Blockwars Race and like Sky Battle, and honestly, I think some people might prefer that, and we could change that if you want to do that in your brain if you would like to. I'm not doing it. I'm not the biggest fan of Block Wars Battle. I do think the new Block Wars 11 version or Block Wars Series 3 version is a lot better than it was before. I obviously have not played it, so maybe I will really enjoy it, but I'm just not a melee PvP enjoyer. So I will never see a melee PvP game and be like, yes, my favorite. That's never gonna happen. So yeah, but it's an inclusion because if I didn't have a melee PvP game in there, people would freaking yell at me. So there you go. Then Blitz Hunt Extraction is kind of the safest top 2 Block Wars games that has to be included pretty much no matter what. Blitz Hunt honestly is top 3 event games of all time. I think it's freaking peak. It's so funny. It's like funny, not skill based, silly, goofy, skibbity toilet. It's great, man. Like a fantastic game. And then Extraction is, in my opinion, top 3 PvP games across the entire Minecraft event scene. But like I said, I'm not a fan of melee PvP, so I could totally see you have an entirely different opinion if you don't like ranged or are just a much more of a melee PvP fan. Meltdown is also included because, again, I do think it is the most fun MCC PvP game. As much as it only is ranged, I prefer that personally, and I also think it would be more fun for the roster that we have. Maybe not. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll never see because this is not happening. But whatever. I included Order Up as like the token team game. Ignore that SOT is literally 2 spaces on the right. I think new Order Up does qualify to be the better team game between most of the picks. I think it is really fun, and I would love to see part of the roster play Order Up at some point. Spoiler alert: Hermitcraft is in there, and that's the group of people that I would like to see take on new Order Up. I think they would maybe enjoy it, potentially. Rocket Spleef is included because it is like, I feel like one of the more iconic games to be in MCC. It is a little difficult, but it was either going to be that or a Hole in the Wall. Obviously, you'll know now since I played in MCC Rivals that I am extremely biased for these games because they are my favorite to play because I'm really good at them. Yeah, Rocket Spleef just makes sense. It's also unique within the roster. It's like a very standalone genre of game. I think it's fantastic. And then SOT. It's the best Minecraft event game, probably. Maybe some people will disagree, but I think it is one of the safest picks. If you say this is my favorite event game of all time, people would be like, that makes sense. I understand. So SOT is in there, and that makes for 8 games. We don't do skipped games in this roster. If there was skipped games, I don't even know what I would pick, honestly. Probably Hole in the Wall. So we'll just put Hole in the Wall there as the skipped token other game. There you go. Boom. That's the roster. 4 games. Next up is the player roster. I tried to pick roughly 50-50 of every event and tried to pick iconic or like notable or whatever picks of players from the event. As you can see, I kind of tried to do it in order and then I just gave up. For MCC, like Scott, Shelby, and Jordan, I think is probably the most iconic 3 people in MCC to participate. Who are like still okay to be in the roster nowadays. Obviously, there are like 3 people that are supposed to be in like almost every event if they're available. I think. Then I had me, Shane, and Misty already in there because I was initially going to put everyone in the same tier, but then it was going to be confusing because there's a lot of crossovers between events. Obviously, a bunch of the MCC players here have played in Block Wars. Like almost every single one of these people has been in a Block Wars before. Regardless, I think Shane and like Joel and Purpled and Fruit and H and Pete are all like iconic good players. I mean, Joel's obviously Joel and H are the lower end of that squad, but still very good players. Martin, I think, is an iconic player. Jimmy as well, and then obviously you can see the rest. And then I was like, what's the most iconic group of players from both events? I say MCC, Hermitcraft. So then you have, aside from Joel, 8 more Hermits in this roster. I think that is it makes a lot of sense. Very deserved, obviously, for them to be included that much. And then I was like, MCC has a bit more like iconic players for MCC, or like more notable players specifically for MCC. Blockwars has a few, has a little bit less, but you can still get there. I will explain. For blockwars, you have me, Misty, Anthos, obviously the remaining player managers aside from Shane, and then obviously Joe, Handsome, Sleepy, Rain, like, I mean, 5-Up was included in the trio. Feinberg is like super iconic. Sneak, I would consider honestly more of a notable Block Wars participant than a notable MCC participant, but that is very debatable, and I could totally see people disagree. Same with 5-Up. Totally could see people disagree. That's just how I view it. I could see them being more Block Wars players than MCC players. Red and Cam and Booster are like iconic, like good Minecraft players that are not really in MCC. And then you have like Smant and Fur as like variety people who have played a couple of times. Then I was like, Giga and VTubers. So there's like 6 VTubers total there. And then I was like, well, Blockwars is known for its variety. Who are some variety creators who are returning or like potentially ones that you could expect to see a couple of times at least going forward. And I said I picked Astral Spiff, King Samalot, and Simple Flips as people that you could look at and be like, oh yeah, Block Wars player, you know? Obviously, Block Wars has one less than MCC. MCC having 26 candidates here and Block Wars having 24. I think that's fine. I mean, who cares if it's actually 50-50? And it also would make it really difficult to make teams. I'm going to show you the teams right now. By the way, I picked 10 teams of 5 as the format. It's like the in-between. Also because including more people is more fun for the hypothetical, because this isn't actually happening. Anyways, here's the teams. Obviously, not every single team makes a lot of sense, but I'll try to explain my thought process when we go through these. I did initially start with the top frags. The top frags were pretty easy to determine. You have red, Radoons on red, makes sense. Shane on orange, makes sense. JoJo on yellow. I think she's been on yellow a couple times. If you really want to give it a specific reason, JoJo was on Golden Gals, I think, and that was on yellow. There you go. Pete on lime. I think Pete's known to be on lime a couple times. Feinberg, obviously, on green doesn't really make a difference. I'll be honest, Fruit's team was on green first, and then I was like, this team is the biggest one, so we're gonna put this on pink. So yeah, whatever. Obviously, me on cyan is because of MCC. Missy on aqua because that's her color. Cam on blue because I feel like he would be a blue Andy in MCC. If he ever played MCC, he'd be like a blue and yellow type of player, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Like a blue, yellow, lime type of player, but I don't know. Purple done purple makes sense, and then fruit and pink, whatever, right? Anyways, let's explain my thought process here. Let me honestly just put this in order of how I approached it. So we're gonna start with me. I was like, I have to do me, Sleepy, and Rain at least. Throw 5-Up on there, throw Demi on there. Just makes a lot of sense. That is just a token Block Wars team. Poor Boost for getting replaced by 5-Up. What a sad way to go out. Next up, I had a Shane, Sneak, Joe, Handsome quad, because I feel like that's relatively iconic. Sneak, Joe, Handsome is the more iconic trio, but I was like, if any top frag goes with them, it's either Fruit or Shane, based on past teaming. And Fruit already had Grian, and Grian is not teaming with Joe Bart and Handsome Fella, so this was the approach. And then Mooney was just someone who I wanted to include and just fit on the team here. And then the rest was kind of just done in whatever order. I was like, okay, Radoons, Jordan, or Captain Sparkles, and Kara makes sense as a trio. Booster actually fits pretty well there as a fourth. Shira would be really fun as an inclusion there on that team. Shira and Booster know each other. I mean, Shira's a VTuber representing Block Wars, a very nice team. Obviously, yellow team, you had to see the. Oh, also I should clarify, these are not balanced teams. Okay, let's continue. JoJo, Scott, Shelby made sense as a trio. Becky fit very well on there for a quad, and then Pearl makes sense there as well because I think she's teamed with pretty much everyone on this team before. Maybe not Becky, but I don't know for sure. Pete and H-Bomb, do I need to explain that? Probably not. With Hermits, do I need to explain that? Probably not. I did pick specific Hermits. I feel like Cub and False is one of the most notable duos as from between Hermits, so that makes sense. And then Scar with H and Scar with Pete just felt right. Green team up next. This team is loud. That's the reason why it's there. Pretty much. That's pretty much it. I mean, Toby and Amy as a duo made sense. Toby and Fine, I think, is due to happen at some point. That just would be really fun to see. I think they would be a great duo. They do know each other, obviously. Fine and Sam a lot on the same team. made sense. It worked. It worked well last time. And Sammy and Toby do know each other. And then Michaela fits in very well. So there you go. That's the green team. Aqua team. Misty with the people, or with 3 people she has invited to Block Wars and is friends with, Fur, Samant, and Simple Flips. And then Astral Smith, who fits well with Fur, Samant, and Simple Flips. So yeah, there you go. Very fun little combination there. And then blue team, Cam, Anthos, and VTubers. Are we surprised that's a thing? Not really. Obviously, that is probably the weakest team in this entire roster by a lot. But it's fun. It's a fun team, I think. They would have a good time. Maybe. I mean, yeah, probably. Purple team, I'll be honest, kind of the remaining people I had, and they happen to all be MCC players, and I was just like, well, if they're all MCC players, it has to work out somehow, you know, that technically works. And then pink. I don't think I need to explain pink. Fruit and Joel has happened, I think, before. Joel and Grian, Joel and Etho, Joel and Jimmy, Fruit and Grian, Fruit and Etho. There's so many duos that make so much sense there. So obviously Grian and Etho, how could I ignore the most insane duo there on that team? Either way, that's the roster I came up with. Obviously, this is not happening. Don't get your hopes up, ever, because why would we ever bother to spend months and months on trying to host an MCC Block Wars crossover event when we don't even know if people actually would want that, and we don't even know the logistics behind that. So never happening, probably. But I'm open to talking about it, but it's probably never happening. Anyways, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the selection that I picked. Let me know if you think there were other iconic players that I missed from MCC or Block Wars. I know these are not like the 24 or 20 whatever, the 25 most iconic players from both events, obviously. But it is what it felt right for the most part to include these people. I'm sure there's people you would include if you combined MCC and Block Wars. You're like, well, who's in MCC and Block Wars? Blah, blah, whatever. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on my event games picks as well, and the teams. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you had fun listening to me ramble about something that will never happen, and see y'all later. Goodbye.